Thanks for fun. Welcome everybody. Man, we've gotten a lot of new subscribers this week and I really appreciate it. Really appreciate that. So usually on Thursdays I try to do what I call a 3-minute Thursday, which means you've asked a question and I get 3 minutes to answer it. The running joke is I can't do it in 3 minutes. I try my best. I'm going to try really hard today though. So this week's question comes from a new subscriber named Steve Pike. He asked in reference to the porch mode video that I'll link below. Do you just larks head the 2 tie-outs to the shot cord with a larger loop for the trekking pole? How do you tie the fly to the stake? One video it appears you have all stakes, suspension straps, and whatnot in a rolled up organizer. Love the orange, by the way. Well, thanks, Steve. I like the color scheme too. So thanks a lot for that really good question. I'm going to try my best to answer it in 3 minutes. So this is the setup I have at each of the 4 corners that you saw in the video. Essentially, all right, something's got to give here. I think I got a better idea. I think I'm going to do like a top-down video approach. I just can't get zoomed in far enough for you guys and can't make the contrast between the items and the background good enough. So just give me a couple minutes. All right, so I went ahead and set up a little overhead so I could show this a little bit more clearly. It just wasn't working out for me at the tarp. So what I've got here is I've got a 10-inch piece of reflective Dutch wire. I've got a 7-inch aluminum stake, the $1.50 ones from Dutch. I think it's the aluminum Y. I've got a flea with an infinite loop of the reflective Dutch wire on it. I've got a 20-inch piece of glow-in-the-dark reflective shot cord. And I have a half of a 25-foot piece, so 12.5-foot piece of the reflective Dutch wire. All right, so let's start at the top. Let's get all the other stuff out of the way. So I've always called this the loop knot, but if anybody knows what this is actually called, please comment below. I take the 2 ends of the string, shot cord, sorry, and I make a loop. So here's my loop. And I'm going to feed those 2 ends through the loop, both loops, both ends of the string through both loops. That simple, that easy. I just pull out my tarp and I take the end of the loop and I pass it through. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass the end of the loop through itself once it's through the ring. And as you know, that's called the lark's head. So now we have a tensioner connected to the end of the tarp. Now let's take our 12.5-foot piece and fold it in half. So all I'm doing right now is getting it to where I can see the ends. I just usually start with the ends at the same point and then just pull with some tension until I get to the end of the loop. So now I know that's the center of the string. And for this, we're going to make the same knot here, but instead of at the end of the rope, it's going to be up closer to the end. And I've always, on this particular setup, I've always come down 2 inches, maybe even just a tad more than 2 inches. So what you do, you take the end of your loop like this, just like we did before. Pass that loop through itself until you have this. What you end up with is a loop on one end with that double knot and a little bit more than 6-foot pieces, 2 of them. So you have 2 6-foot pieces coming out. Now when we take our tensioner, we're just going to lark's head this end onto the tensioner. And you can see he's going to grab real good. He's not going to let go. Now, of course, if you have 2, 3, or 4, you'd want to do the lark's head on all of them. And what you're left with is this little loop here. So when you go to put your porch mode up, you take your trekking pole, and at the end, you're going to slide this guy over. So now off one side of the trekking pole, you've got your tensioner going to your tarp tie out. On the other end of this, you've got 2 6-foot plus pieces going out. So when I stuff away my tarp, there's no hardware here, right? You don't see any hardware. The only hardware is a plastic BSTD. All right, now let's go to the ground. So on the ground, we got to get a stake in the ground, and we've got to attach something to the stake that lets us adjust this. Because remember, with the porch mode, you don't want to feel like it's a big task to undo it and redo it. So what I found is the Fleaz works perfect for this. These front legs with that nice rounded and open areas where you're going to pull in your line, and you're going to pull a lot of tension on them. And then the head and the wing area are where you're going to slide your cordage in, and it's going to get locked and pinched in these little tight spots here behind the wing. So on the stake, they make really super lightweight carbon fiber ones, of course, but they're so much more money, and they're not that much lighter than this guy right here. And this is like $1.50. The only thing I'll point out here is I'd highly recommend to deburr this hole. You're going to have cordage going through there, and it doesn't take very many. Even dyneema gets cut on those burrs. So take your time, get a file in there, and file that thing down. I like to add just a little scrap piece that eventually does have to be replaced. I put that guy in there, and I do that same little loop knot using both ends. I'm telling you, that does not come off. I pulled, okay. So now we have a piece that can get damaged and be easily replaced. Now the Fleaz and its infinite loop, we're just going to lark's head onto the end. So in my little, now we get the stake in the ground and we got our Fleaz. How do we connect it to our tie-outs? Say if this guy's in the ground and you want to attach. The way it works with a Fleaz, you just come in with your line to the legs of the Fleaz, and notice that nice curved nature of the front legs. That's perfect to get a lot of torque and pull that really taut, yet not cut your line. So we're going to tension it, get it where we want it, go around the head, come up over the top, and go behind the wing. Now that's all you need to do to secure it. And when you want to change your porch, just pull this out. Now you can adjust again, or if you need to, disconnect very quickly. Change things up. When you're ready, connect to the legs again, go around the head to the wings, and lock it in place. If it makes you feel better, go around the head and the wing a second time. And then separately in a stake bag, which I keep all of my tree straps, and I keep Ridgeline hardware, which is the stingers is what I use, and all my stakes and Fleaz, I keep them in a separate baggie. So here's my stake organizer. This was actually one of the very first outdoor projects I ever made, and that was one of my first dealings with Dutch as well, when he first came out with that argon material. As you can see, it's very simple. It's just a piece of folded over nylon with simple stitches where you want your stakes, and a piece of grosgrain on the bottom and on the edges. And I went ahead and sewed in little pieces of Velcro. So, and then from here I can roll it up. And what I did is I sewed some shot cord on. Well, I hope everybody has a great day. Sorry I went over the 3 minutes, but I just can't help it. Welcome to all the new subscribers. Appreciate you being here. Hangs for Fun, signing off. Remember, hang your own hang, and as always, happy hanging.
Woo!